Two footballs, one name, and a never-ending debate. The Super Bowl shatters TV records in the United States every year, with advertisers throwing down millions for just a few seconds of airtime. But across the world, the original football regularly pulls in audiences that make the NFL look tiny. Let's break down football versus football. The Super Bowl is America's biggest sporting event. In 2025, 127 plus million people watched the Eagles deny the Kansas City Chiefs a three-peat. It was the most watched Super Bowl ever, breaking 2024's record of 120 million viewers. They break this record every single year. The entire country stops for this game. People fill bars. House parties go all night long. Even casual fans turn on their TV just to be a part of the spectacle. It's not just about the football. It's the pageantry. It's the commercials that advertisers pay millions for a few seconds of airtime. Every major celebrity is in the building. Rappers, pop stars, actors. Taylor Swift sitting in a VIP box becomes front page news. The halftime show gets as much attention as the game itself. In fact, viewership dropped by over 1 million people after Kendrick Lamar finished his performance at Super Bowl 59. To put it simply, the Super Bowl is massive. But in global football, it's just another event. The 2022 World Cup final had 1.5 billion viewers. That's 12 Super Bowls in one night. Now, I understand that the World Cup is a global event that happens once every 4 years. Maybe it isn't the most fair comparison. So let's take a look at the UEFA Champions League, a yearly tournament that pits the best of Europe's club soccer teams. The final averages 400 plus million viewers every year. The scale we're talking about here is just completely different. And if you need further proof, on the night of Super Bowl 59, the most viral moment from the official @NFL account on Twitter wasn't even from the game itself. It wasn't Mahomes making magic. It wasn't Saquon Barkley jumping over somebody backwards, or Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. It wasn't Kendrick Lamar's halftime show. It was Lionel Messi walking into the stadium. Yes, seriously. A guy who plays a different type of football, just showing up to the game, got more engagement than the biggest football event in America. That's the level we're talking about. That's the kind of influence global football has. The NFL can't match global football's reach. But if there is one thing that it does better than anyone, it's making money. The NFL is a financial powerhouse. The league generates over $20 billion a year, a number so high that if you combine the NBA, NHL, and English Premier League combined, it still couldn't compete. TV deals are locked in for $110 billion through 2033, and every major network wants a piece. CBS, Fox, NBC, ESPN, Netflix, Amazon Prime, they're all throwing billions just to sometimes air only a handful of games per year. The Super Bowl alone brings in over $500 million in ad revenue. A 30-second commercial spot during Super Bowl 59 cost advertisers $8 million a pop, and companies were lining up to pay. That's how massive the demand is. And the craziest part is every single team in the NFL is profitable. It doesn't matter if they win. It doesn't matter if they lose. The business model is so airtight, even the worst teams are making gobs of money. But for the athletes themselves, it's a little different. NFL stars get paid. Patrick Mahomes signed a $450 million contract, the biggest deal in NFL history. But in some places in world football, that's nothing. Kylian Mbappe turned down a $1.1 billion contract offer from Saudi Arabia. Yes, $1 billion. Cristiano Ronaldo makes $200 million per year at Al Nassr. That's more than the entire Kansas City Chiefs roster. And while the Saudi Arabian teams are offering money like no one else, the biggest names in world football are still making outrageous sums. According to Forbes, at one point during his time in Barcelona, Lionel Messi had agreed to a $600 million deal over 4 seasons. Comparatively, that $450 million Mahomes deal was over 10 years. And when it comes to sponsorships, NFL stars still get really big deals. Mahomes, Brady, Peyton Manning. But when you look at somebody like Cristiano Ronaldo, he has a $1 billion lifetime contract with Nike. Messi is the face of Adidas. Neymar has Puma. And their Instagram followers, Cristiano Ronaldo alone has 600 million followers. That is more than every single NFL team combined. Yes, the NFL prints money, but global football players print generational wealth for themselves. And this is why the NFL struggles outside of the US. It makes almost all of its money from the United States. It's hardly a global sport. Unlike FIFA or UEFA, it struggles to expand beyond North America. And they've tried everything to go global. They launched NFL Europe, and it flopped. They created the NFL International Series, which is still fairly niche outside of the United States. There's games in London, Germany, Mexico, Brazil, and they sell out fast. But let's be real, it's not even close to what FIFA and UEFA have built. The Premier League has global TV deals worth billions. The Champions League owns Wednesdays and Thursdays across the world. And the World Cup turns entire nations into football-obsessed fan bases. Meanwhile, the NFL is struggling to convince people outside of the United States to even care. It dominates TV ratings in America. It's the biggest show in town, and every franchise is a guaranteed fortune. But outside of the US, it's a very different story. Because while the NFL fights for attention globally, football, real football, as some would say, is already running the world. Soccer isn't just the most popular sport on earth. It is the sport of the entire planet. It's the number one sport in over 200 countries. Everywhere you go, from Brazil to Japan to Nigeria to Argentina, kids are playing football in the streets or on the beaches or in the alleyways. And it doesn't take expensive gear. All you need is a ball and a patch of open space. And that's why this sport spreads like wildfire. When it comes to watching the sport, the numbers are absurd too. The Champions League attracts more fans per year than the entire NFL season combined. And that's not even talking about the World Cup, the single biggest sporting event on the planet. In 2022, over 5 billion people tuned in at some point during the tournament, according to FIFA. That's not just a record or a number that sounds crazy. That is more than half of the entire planet watching a single event. The World Cup final alone had 1.5 billion viewers. A Super Bowl every year is huge, and they break records in the United States every year. But imagine 12 Super Bowls happening at one time. That's how big global football is. But it isn't hard to see why. Football doesn't just exist in a country. It is the culture. Entire cities shut down when there's a big match. Businesses close. People call in sick to watch. And when a team wins or loses, it can be chaos. Riots break out. Streets flood with fans lighting flares, waving flags, and celebrating like they just won the lottery. After winning the World Cup in 2022, over 5 million people packed the streets of Buenos Aires. The team's victory parade literally had to be airlifted out because the roads were too congested full of people for any of the buses to move. In many countries, when the national team plays, companies will just shut down so all of the employees can go home and watch. Football isn't just a game, it's a way of life, and it creates global icons. Messi, Ronaldo, Neymar, Mbappe. These aren't just athletes, they're cultural figures. They have more followers than entire leagues. And the biggest stars in American football, they idolize these guys too. At the 2023 Ballon d'Or, NFL players were lining up just to get a photo with Messi. When Messi came to America and joined Inter Miami, NBA and NFL and other American sports stars couldn't stop talking about him. LeBron James, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, they all posted about it or were showing up at MLS games just to get a glimpse of Messi and perhaps even meet him. Because in America, where the NFL is king, football's influence is still inescapable. It's not just another sport. It is the sport. And compared to the NFL, it is in an entirely different league. So with all of this global success, where does that leave the NFL? Globally, just trying to keep up. And the truth is, they never really stood a chance. The NFL has an America problem. It owns Sunday nights. It shuts down entire cities on Super Bowl Sunday. But outside of North America, it's just another sport struggling for attention. And that's why the league has spent years trying to expand. and they've tried everything. From NFL Europe in the 1990s to now the NFL International Series with games being played across the globe, it's been successful. Fans show up, they sell tickets, but it's still niche. The NFL is competing in a world where football fans have already decided that they have something that's better. So no matter how many international games the NFL plays or how many millions they spend promoting the sport overseas, they're just facing an impossible problem. They're not competing with the Champions League. They're not even competing with World Cup qualifiers. They're competing with regular season football matches that happen every single day and still attract more viewers than NFL games in those countries. And that's a fight that they just can't win. The sport itself is the issue. Football is simple. A ball, a goal, 90 minutes. Anyone can understand anywhere in the world. The NFL is a bit more complicated. The average person in Europe or South America or Asia doesn't grow up with the sport. They don't know the rules. They don't know why the game stops every 10 seconds or why it's called football when you very explicitly use your hands and carry an egg. And if you're trying to win over new fans, a rulebook that reads like a physics textbook isn't really helping. And the NFL knows this. That's why they're making desperate moves. They're pushing for a permanent team in London. They're spending millions on marketing to get Europeans to care. And they've even got flag football into the 2028 Olympics, hoping that a simplified version of the sport will bring in new fans. But here's the thing. It doesn't matter how hard they try. Because at the end of the day, global football is already too big. It is already too ingrained in every culture outside of the US. And the NFL just isn't set up for an actual fight with the soccer powers of the world. It's up against entire countries that live and breathe football. And that is a cultural battle that they can't win outside of the United States. The NFL dominates North America. It is the richest sports league on earth. It has billionaire owners, billion-dollar franchises, and TV contracts worth more than some entire country's economies. It owns television ratings. It owns Sundays, Thursdays, and Mondays. But that's all it owns. Because once you step outside of the US, football is a different game, a global game. And it's not the one that's played with helmets. So what do you think? Is there a future where the NFL grows internationally? Or will soccer always be the undisputed king of sports? Let us know in the comments. And if you love debates like this and want more, hit that subscribe button and let us know what you'd like to see come across the commissioner's desk.